Yee! Yee! What's good, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another segment of the Late Night Show with Dr. Kojo. I'm your host, Kojo, checking in from what was a sunny and windy, but a sunny day here in Los Angeles, California. So we're going to be talking about boundaries today. We talked about boundaries on Tuesday, so we're going to pick up the conversation on boundaries. But before we get into that, we have to start the show off the same way we started off every night or every morning when it's a breakfast segment. To use the comment section to let me know where you're checking in from, and then we'll get started. So I have my little blurb about me here. You know, it's automatically pinned. Whenever I do a live stream, it automatically shows up, right? So I have this here, and then I want to know where you all are checking in from. So I know Jacqueline is checking in from Missouri because she's an OG. Jackie, what's going on? I hope you've had a good day today. We got Carly checking in from Indiana. Carly Ash, what's up? What's up? We got Mary Kate checking in from Texas. Tracy from Alabama. Retro, what's good? Okay. Spidey. So we got love from Twitch. What's up? What's up? We got Katie checking in from Oregon. Taylor. Taylor. What am I doing? Taylor from Tampa. Christina from Canada. Nikki from Miami. Sharice from Land O'Lakes, Florida. Crispy, we actually do stream on Twitch. A lot of folks say you should be on Twitch. I am on Twitch, right? It's primarily people who are on Facebook who are on this stream, but we're also on Twitch and we're also on LinkedIn as well. So just keep that in mind. Mississippi in the house, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Arizona. Hey, Retro, appreciate you, my guy. New York in the house, New Jersey, Nebraska, San Jose, North Carolina, Southern Outer Banks. Okay. The show Outer Banks is coming back February 23rd. That day I'm not working. I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna binge watch on Netflix. Hey, that's what's up. That's what's up. Canada in the house, Virginia in the house, Boston, Massachusetts as well. Taylor, yeah. I was like I was this Taylor, got it. Mississippi in the house, Orlando, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Oh, so we got some Minnesota people in the house. Kendra, love you too. Thank you so much. Pontiac in the house, Michigan, Tennessee in the house, Chicago in the house, Canada. I think it's still cold in Canada right now, right? Mississippi, Philippines, North Carolina, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, from Missouri as well. Okay, I'm happy you I'm happy here as well. We got Australia in the house, New Mexico in the house, Texas. Jade, what's going on? How you doing? She put the OMG with the 3Gs. No way I made it. Margaret, you made it. This is live. Canada in the house. Jade, love you too. I appreciate you. Boston, Boston hella cold. And that's why I live in LA. North Carolina in the house, all about giving grace. It is. All right. And Carrie didn't show where she's from. I'm gonna guess and say Arkansas, Puerto Rico, Virginia in the house. 2 people from Australia. Okay. Jade, is this your first time on the live stream? Philippines in the house. Chicago in the house. Lorianne, what's up? What's up? Negative 41 degrees in Maine. Is it really negative 41? Is it? Can it go down to negative 41? That's if that's the case. Is that Fahrenheit or Celsius? Damn sure it couldn't be Celsius. Aussie here. Okay, so Australia in the house. Jade, I'm happy you're in the live stream. This is a live stream that we do 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 o'clock Eastern time in the U.S. and then 9 o'clock a.m. on Monday mornings Eastern time. I say Eastern time because the majority of the world goes up at Eastern time, but I'm in the West Coast. Carly, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Live in Wisconsin. Oh, wow. So it can go to negative 41. I'm just happy to be somewhere where it's warm. I can't really do the cold thing. I mean, I could if I had to, but, Puerto Rico in the house, Canada in the house. Good to be alive. Yeah, it's a great day to be alive. I'm very happy to be here. It was in the 80s. Right. So, Taylor, that's why people live in Florida and Arizona and California. My bones, they're not going to do well with, cold weather, over time. Yeah, it will be a great day. You're not from Arkansas. Close, right? Is Arkansas the South? Maybe. Wisconsin. Yes. So for those of y'all who have the book, you could use page 204 for to talk about boundaries on page 204. Let me see if it. Yeah, setting healthy boundaries, right? So you can use this book as we're on the live stream, right? When I wrote the book, I told the company, so I told Scheiman and Schuster, I'm like, all right, y'all give me this book deal. I'm gonna make sure that this is the best decision that you all make. And I think the book is helping out people, right? And I hope it's selling well. I don't really know if I don't keep up with the numbers, but it's helping people from what I can tell based off of the DMs. Where I left New York. Yeah, Taylor, you'll do better in Florida. I'm going to Atlanta tomorrow. It's gonna be cold. Yeah, there's this big ice thing going on in the South. So for those of y'all who are in the South, please stay safe. -50s and oh my goodness, Mickey Ficky. Yeah, hope everybody did their homework from last live. So the homework from the last live. So if y'all are new to this live stream today, we had homework right on Tuesday. We challenge each other to hold the door open for somebody that you don't know, right? So when I went to the gym, I go every day, but each day I've been holding the door open for a couple of people, and people will say, "Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you." Boom, boom, boom. Only one lady didn't say anything, but that's neither here nor there. But holding the door open was a challenge for everybody. With your gift card, appreciate you, Margaret. Thank you very much. Southern California in the house. Okay, so we're neighbors as well. The book should be available in Philippines. And random question, but sometimes people's vitamin D levels might be low instead of them being depressed. So that's why you're supposed to get all your labs checked before they give you a psychiatric diagnosis. Technically, Jade, it's from the last live stream, but if it's your first live stream, then don't worry about it. Your videos definitely help people, especially myself, identify with themselves. Jade, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yes, low vitamin D can mimic symptoms of depression. You can have low energy, you can be tired, and you might think that you're depressed, right? Until they get the lab work. So Sanders says, I tried setting boundaries today and came out as an outburst. A few days ago, my counselor had someone in training and asked if it was okay. I said yes. Well, I tried to explain to my peer support today and just came out as angry. All right, so Sandra, look, we're gonna work through this. Hopefully we don't keep having outbursts, but you got to be kind to yourself, right? So for the next time that this happens, we're gonna challenge ourselves to do better. But the past is the past, right? So we can't spend too much time thinking about it. So we gotta book up and think about the next thing. And Taylor, low iron can do similar things, to where it looks like it's depression. Astra, this is my first live, but I've been watching videos for a little bit now. It's a pleasure to meet you. Astra, it's a pleasure to meet you as well. It's a pleasure to meet everybody here. Welcome to the family if you're new. Kendra is one of the moderators, and Leilani is another moderator here on Facebook. And if any of my moderators from TikTok come over, Mike, Ayla, who else? Stephanie, but any of my TikTok moderators, if they come over to Facebook, they'll automatically be moderators because they've been moderating and helping me out for 3 years, right? All right, so let me get into it, right? When your boundaries are crossed, 3 things to do when your boundaries are crossed, right? And before I drop the first thing in there, I want to say that when I was making this list, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, how do I give good practical advice, not medical advice, right? But how do I give good practical advice that people can actually use, right? So for the person who, people are, taking advantage of you, you feel like you can never stand for yourself, and you really, really, really want to work on setting boundaries. I'm like, what's going to be good, practical, and sound advice, right? So this is what I would say for that, right? Taylor, I appreciate that. I took a break from the psychiatry business and seeing patients, but whenever I get these comments, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, it makes me want to get back in the game. I keep all my licenses active, but I'm like, put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to get back in the game. And Shelby, the link to my book should be in my bio. I would say, link should be in my bio. Let me see what Martin said. I'm having carrots with Caesar dressing. Sorry, shaking my carrots. Taking that. It means that you're paying attention to this live stream. Barbara from Australia. Okay. So I'm in sunny LA and you're in sunny Australia. That's what's up. Awesome. How to stay consistent with setting boundaries. Well, Jemiah, we'll talk about it right now. Danielle's from Jacksonville. Danielle, what's up? What's up? All right. So the first thing is figure out who the person is if you want them in your life, right? So this is going to save you a lot of trouble. Okay. So if you're having a hard time setting boundaries with somebody and they keep pushing your buttons and they keep bullying you, like they stay on you, the first thing you have to do is figure out if you want the person in your life, right? Because some people you may be able to divorce yourself from them, and just separate yourself from them without having to go through all that trouble, right? So here's a good example. I love to use this example because I think it's practical. Let's say you are on Bumble, Tinder, one of these dating websites, right, or apps, and you meet somebody and you've known them for a week and a half, right, and you've been on 2 dates. But this person continues to push your boundaries, right? You tell the person, hey, I don't like it when you come to my house and don't take your shoes off. Or I don't like it when you call me this name, right? If you have a certain nickname that the person called you, just, to see if you like the name, and you're like, don't call me that name. I don't like when people call me Mandy, but my name is Amanda. Call me Amanda. Don't call me Mandy, right? If the person's like, all right, I'm going to call you Mandy. Okay, this person is clearly messing with me because I told them my boundaries and they don't want to respect it, right? So if it's somebody that you just met and you're not sure like whether you even like them, you can easily just separate yourself from them, right? Because this is somebody who you just met the person, you're not sure if you want them in your life. So if somebody in the beginning is showing you that they can't follow instructions and they can't follow your boundaries, then the sooner you can let go of them, the better, right? The sooner you can divorce yourself from that person, the better. It becomes difficult when it's somebody who you want in your life, somebody who's a family member or a friend or somebody who's been around for a long time. Those are the people that is really, really, really hard to set boundaries with, right? And that's why if there's somebody who is giving you a hard time and they're not the closest of friends, you can just kind of put them over there and you can stay here. They can save you a lot of mental energy, right? Leilani, what's up? How are you doing? And yes, finding my crowd in the workbook page 196 is helpful. We're all on a journey to look for our people, right? So right here we have this online community, and I appreciate the online community. But in our day-to-day lives, we're still looking to find those people who we can connect with. Just got your book, sorry, this week. Love the idea of set boundaries. I need to work on this. Elizabeth, thank you for your support. And we all have to work on this, right? Even me, all of us have to work on boundaries because every day, every week, every month, you learn things about yourself, right? And then you learn that, I get overwhelmed, with sensory overload, or my social battery dies really quickly when certain things happen, right? So as you learn yourself, you know more of what you need, if that makes sense. Ricky says, I just wanted to let you know how much I really did it or needed this. Going through live, been stressed. Oh, well, Ricky, hey, that's over the live stream. Hopefully, this live stream and maybe the playback, if you go back and watch it, can be helpful for you. Amanda says, I definitely need to hear this. I had to break it off with a friend who bullied my husband and I after his mother died. Ooh, man, that's a tough one right there. Ooh. And that's why I like the real life examples. And Amanda says, don't call me Mandy. All right, so that's Amanda's boundary, right? We know that she doesn't appreciate when you bully her and her husband, but don't call her Mandy. All right, so no taking. But it's tough because more than likely you're probably showing love to your friend because his mother died. Oh wait, I don't know if it's your husband's mother died or your friend's mother. I'm not sure. I want to speak without knowing the situation, but your friend was bullying your husband and you, right? That's the part that I know for a fact. So there's nothing wrong with distancing yourself from that person, right? They were a friend and you used to enjoy their company, but if the person is making life hell for you and your partner, and you can separate yourself from them, that's going to make you feel better. What if they are coworkers? How should we push back? The same way, right? So a coworker, Mona, like you have to work with them, maybe in the same cubicle or in the same hospital or same office, right? And with coworkers, it's tricky because they may follow you on LinkedIn, they may follow you on Instagram, and they may go back to the workplace and gossip and say, "Oh, I saw that Mona was she called out sick, but I saw her cashing a flight to Hawaii." Like coworkers sometimes can be difficult. But what I would say is, if it's somebody who you work with a lot, do your best to work through those issues and try and confront the boundary that's being pushed. If they keep trying to like do something that you told them over and over, at some point you may have to take it to the higher ups, right? You may have to go to HR. And if you do, you're not a snitch. Like where I'm from, if somebody called you a snitch, it was like the worst thing in the world, right? But when you're an adult, you can call me a snitch. Like if something is bothering me, I'm going to confront that person. I'll let you know. I don't mind confrontation. I'll say, "Hey, this is what's going on. Boom, boom, boom. Let's work this out." I'm not going to be rude, but I'm going to say, "Hey, this is bothering me. We need to, work towards a solution." But don't feel bad about, snitching. And let me see, husband's mother. So, Amanda, sorry for your loss. And bullying is never acceptable. But it's like 3 levels worse when your husband is grieving, and then you have a mutual friend who is that's I don't use the word friend lightly, so that might not be a friend, and I'm happy that you put some space between y'all and this former friend or acquaintance. And Taylor, there should be a link to actually I don't know. Because I don't see how it looks on Facebook, but I wish there was a link to share. And for those in the Discord, anything that you think that we can do to make the live stream better in terms of reaching more people on Facebook, let me know, and I can just let my people at Facebook know, see if they can maybe do something. So Jade, I appreciate you. I'm having fun doing this, so I appreciate you. And DBT, yeah. So Ricky, a lot of folks don't know about DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. It's a form of CBT. It's one of the best therapies that I really appreciate. It helps you regulate your mood and also interact with people. You have to save your energy. We don't have all the energy in the world. We can't be going back and forth with everybody, right? Daniel says, "I've had to tell my own mom that I can't take extra politic and sad news stories." So I'm going to go ahead and give Danielle the first love of the show right here, and I'll tell you why. So this is really hard to do, right? The people in our family, like your mom, dad, spouse, whoever, it's really hard to tell them, to confront them and say, "Hey, I don't like this," right? And I'm the same way, like when I go home, I'll go home and my parents will be watching CNN. I'll hang out with them for a little bit, but I'll go to my room, or my brother's room at the house until they change the channel. Like I don't want to watch news 24/7, because if you cut the TV on and you put on the news and you watch it from the morning to the nighttime, I can imagine that you could almost feel like you put yourself at higher risk for things like depression and anxiety when you're constantly consuming the news, because there's so much a lot of bad things happening, and I'm not sure if we need to be aware of all those things. Just personally, let me see. I never really had a voice kind of people pleaser. Is people pleasing something that keeps you from setting boundaries? Yes, I would say people pleasing can keep you from setting boundaries, right? Because if you're trying to please people, you're like, if you're a true people pleaser, like everybody says, I'm a people pleaser. If you're hell bent on pleasing people, right, you'll do it at all costs, even if it makes you feel bad. So it's gonna be hard to set boundaries if you're always trying to please people. Brooke says, and I'm reading this backwards, so sometimes I go backwards. "I'm uncomfortable with boundaries. Sometimes I'll just cut someone off because I don't want to deal with them anymore, and they are a boundary pusher." All right, so Brooke, I will say this. I actually, you know what? Let me give you a love of the show. I'll tell you why. So I'm gonna give you a love of the show. Don't judge yourself with being uncomfortable with boundaries. But let me say this. And look, sometimes we may be doing things to people that we love and we don't realize that we're doing it, right? So sometimes we have to also acknowledge that we may be the villains in somebody else's story, right? Now, all of us who are here, we're not angels. We've done things that we're not proud of, right? So we may be the villain in someone else's story, right? So I think when somebody comes to us, right, or when we go to somebody and we put up a boundary, that's a way of saying I love you, right? They're saying, hey, like I love you, I appreciate your presence in my life, and in order for us to, keep being this close, like I'm gonna need a couple of things to. I'm gonna need you to adhere by a couple of rules. I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable, but I do appreciate you in my life, right? Because what happens when you don't want the person in your life? You're just gonna ghost them. You're gonna ghost them. And a lot of times, even for me personally, whenever whenever I was in a relationship in the past and things were kind of going, bad, like whenever it's time for like the eventual breakup, like I'm not picking as many fights. I'm just kind of silent. I'm like, all right, I'm just kind of waiting. I'll let her do her thing, and you know, but when I bring things up, it's because I still care, right? When you bring things up, it's because you still care and you want something to change, right? So, you're still working on it, but sometimes you just might not want that person in your life, right? And if you don't, then you can just separate yourself from them without having to put a boundary, right? They're over here and then you're here, and if that's the case, then you fix the problem, and then you don't need this live stream anymore. This ex friend is also my husband's coworker at work. Good thing he's no longer in the same section as her. Oh yeah, coworkers can be difficult. Maria says that's my boundary. Don't add me on social media if we aren't friends at that level. Yeah, and believe it or not, like right now, I mean, obviously all my profiles are public because I do social media. But there was a time where when I was working at the psych hospital back in 2017, 2016, back in Georgia, that my Instagram was private because I wasn't sure which coworkers I could trust, right? And I was young. I was like 23, 24. So I'm going on trips with my boys. We're hanging out, just doing what young guys do. And coworkers, they're living their lives. I'm like, I don't know if I want them to see what I'm doing, Sarah says, how do you keep clients an arm length when you want to keep your personal life private, but you don't want to appear impolite? All right, so Sarah, actually, y'all have some good questions today. I would say you can tell somebody. So let's say, Sarah, you're a trainer at the gym and you're training a client, and your client says, "Hey, Sarah, how many kids do you have, and what are your kids' names?" But you don't want to share that information. Then you can kindly say, "Hey, I don't mean to be rude. It's just that I don't, share this information with people outside my family. I like to, be private." And then that's your boundary. And if the person says, "Oh, I respect that," then you're like, okay, cool, I can keep this person around. But if the person keeps pushing, that's a sign that, okay, we may not be able to continue this relationship, this business relationship, because I put up a boundary. And the person, if they make you feel bad about it, that's a sign that they don't want to respect your boundary. And it's a sign that you might have to, like, distance yourself from from that person. Possibly. But this is a really good question. Ghosted people also. Yeah, and I mean, so ghosting has a negative connotation, but I mean, sometimes I can see why people will leave a situation, right? Rome, hey, I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rome. What was your question, Adra? I be going up, down, left, right, all over the place. For me, it's easier to ghost than to try to explain why I can't be around a certain person anymore. And if you don't want this person in your life anymore, then there's nothing wrong with, like, I don't want to say cutting them off or ghosting, but going your own way. Going your own way and ghosting, it could be the same thing, right? At this point, it might just be semantics. Should you set boundaries with some friends who seem jealous that your partner is with you because you've taken their friends, so to speak, or did that make you toxic? So, Jonan, as I say, Jonan, but friends who seem jealous of your partners with you because you've taken their friends, so to speak, it does not make you toxic. And yes, you should set boundaries with them, right? You should. Keep in mind, my mom told me this when I was growing up, and I believe it wholeheartedly. She says the person that you marry is probably the biggest decision that you'll ever make in your life, or your partner, right? You may not marry, but whoever is your lifelong partner, that's the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life, right? And I think to myself, I'm like, all right, I think I've made some pretty decent decisions in life, and I think I'm doing well. But I could marry the wrong woman, and this whole you wouldn't see me on live. Maybe I'd be stressed. I'd be pulling my hair out. I'd be depressed. Like I'm not saying that will happen, but the person that you pick is very important, right? So when you pick that person, they pick you as well. So you should absolutely set boundaries with their friends and your friends, because like it's you and your partner at the end of the day. It's y'all two versus, or if it's a polyamorous situation, it's you and your relationship, right? And everybody in it versus the rest of the world. So yeah, most definitely set some boundaries. Most definitely. Um, let me see. How does someone deal with a partner going through substance abuse, holding on to old times, hoping they'll change? All right, so Jay, this is a bit different. This is a bit different when it comes to addiction and substance use. Nobody chooses to be an addict, right? So people nobody wakes up and they're like, oh, I want to be an alcoholic, right? But if you drink so much and your body becomes accustomed to it, then you can get to the point where when you stop drinking alcohol, like your body will reject the fact that it doesn't have any alcohol. Like your body will need alcohol, right? That's what the withdrawals can be so difficult. So with substance use abuse, it's difficult, but you do have to put boundaries in place with them, and you do have to say that, hey, like you have to paint the picture of what things would look like if they don't, make some small changes over time, right? Or if they're not heading in the right direction, So this is, you still got to put boundaries in place, but this is a little different, or you have to like approach it a little bit differently. This is a good question. Love from a distance, yes, Sandra. I have a lot of people that I love from a distance, but I can't keep them around me because literally keeping certain folks around me will drain my energy and drain my spirit, and it's not a good thing. The girl that I her crush called me saying she was sorry. So Jamal, I'm not sure what's going on, but if somebody apologizes to you and they want to get back into your life, sure, you can let them back in your life, but then they have to follow, the rules and regulations that you set. I have a difficult time with boundaries, even when I feel taken advantage of, especially when it comes to families and friends. I also don't confront people even when they backstab me. All right, so Martha, if you have a hard time confronting people, you will always have a hard time putting boundaries in place. So that might be, you may have like answered, you didn't ask a question, but you may have figured something out, because if you have a hard time confronting people, it's going to be very hard to set boundaries, right? So I think we have to remove this whole idea that like confrontation is negative. Like confrontation is a good thing, especially when you love somebody, because you're approaching them and saying there's an issue, let's work through it. That's a form of saying I love you, in my opinion. It's like, hey, I love you, we just need to work on this, if that makes sense. People say I love you all the time, like they just throw it out like I love you, I love you. When you love somebody, you do your best to try and confront them. But if you can't confront them because you're a little shy, it's not your fault. But we gotta make a little, hopefully you can head in like the right direction. Yeah, so we're all learning how to confront people, right? I hate confronting people, but I don't mind doing it. Like I'd rather confront than to sit there uncomfortable. Like the way I see it, we only have one life. Like I'm gonna enjoy my life. I'm gonna enjoy living. I'm gonna enjoy my time. So you have to make a lot of hard decisions, and I've had to do that, and it's not fun. But if you don't respect yourself, you give people a blueprint on how to disrespect you, right? And let me drop a second tip. Let me drop a second tip in here and continue to answer you all's questions, right? So the second to do when your boundaries are crossed, you want to calmly re-explain what your boundaries are and what the consequences are as well. So that's the second tip, right? So Corey Ann, let's say Corey Ann is upset because your coworker keeps coming into your personal space, right? At some point, you have to confront them. And let's say you confront them one time, but you have a hard time with confrontation. So you don't want to do it again, right? Sure. But if you can calmly re-explain to them and say, all right, I told you that I need my space. And last time I told you you weren't able to, you didn't listen to me, right? So if you're not able to give me some space, what's going to happen is I'm going to have to go to HR, or I'm going to have to go to the boss, right? there has to be a consequence for certain actions, or else people just won't do certain things. And it almost is time for water break. Actually, yeah, it is time for water break. Somebody dropped the magic word in the chat, and we'll take a water break. People throw a context. Like, yeah, yeah. I finally started setting boundaries and sticking to them after years of allowing my boundaries to be crossed, but it's hard. Sometimes boundaries still get crossed, but now that I've set mine up, yeah. Look, and sometimes people will still. Sometimes things will get past you, right? But when you catch wind of it, just do your best to address it for the future. Um, big cheers, big cheers, big cheers, and I'll go back up and get some of those comments up top. And Mulir Fortis, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Big cheers, y'all. Well, actually, let me say what this is. This is the water break. This is our time to go ahead and get some water in. Sometimes we forget to drink water throughout the day, and we forget to stay hydrated. So the water break will ensure that we do get some type of H2O in our system, right? So big cheers, y'all. Mickey Thicky. Yeah, I was thirsty. Yeah, Jade, the water break is one of my favorite parts of the live stream because apparently I haven't been drinking enough water today because I just down really quickly. Let me see what the so I missed this one. How you set boundaries with negative conversations. So I'll tell you how this works. So I can think of a guy right now. I wouldn't call him a friend. I'll call him an acquaintance, right? I used to work out with him. And he would always come up to me and say, "Oh, bro, did you hear what happened to so-and-so?" And it got to a point where if I'm at the gym, right, and I'm working out and I see him coming, I'm like, oh my goodness, he's gonna come and gossip. It's gonna be something negative, right? So I had to get to the point where I said, hey, if you come to me and you talk about X, Y, and Z, I don't want to have that conversation. And after time, we stopped talking because every time he came up, it was always something negative, right? I just said, hey, I don't want to hear negative things. I'm coming to the gym to clear my mind, right? And having negative conversations and hanging around negative people is gonna suck the energy out of your soul, right? So it's important to just tell a person, hey, I cannot allow this into my system. And they probably don't know how toxic it is for them to be engaging in negative dialogue with other people, right? So it's not that they know and they're trying to like be toxic to you. Sometimes they really just don't know, right? So you can educate them, you can be kind, but this is one of those situations where I'll do that from afar. Like I'll educate you from afar, but I'm not gonna have negativity in my circle, like not at all. I think it's important that we normalize ethical non-monogamy and acknowledge that a lot of the standards of our society is monogamous. Yeah, Taylor, I agree. And we've had a couple of live streams on polyamory and ethical non-monogamy. Well, not ethical non-monogamy, but polyamory. But I think that there's a lot of things that are problematic with society's monogamous, standards, for lack of a better term, And I'm not saying monogamy is a bad thing. Like, no, I don't want y'all thinking that I want like 7 wives, right? But I'm just saying that for some people, polyamory might be the way, right? I missed this one up earlier. I got a boundary issue with my boy best friend because I don't know if the girlfriends like me or not. They'll think I'm too close to them. I don't know what to say anymore. Also, Chrissy, this is difficult because I don't think people should kick their friends to the curb when they get a partner, right? But y'all should, if your boyfriend and his girlfriend, if your friend and his girlfriend can hang out with you and all three of y'all can be together in the same space, then it shouldn't be an issue, right? But if your friend can only hang out with you like by yourselves, and I can see how it'd be like, like a question mark. Let me see some new comments. I missed it. I'm Polly, and I love the convo. Oh yeah, we'll have to bring that we'll have to bring back the polyamorous conversation. And I'm gonna also find an expert on ethical non-monogamy to come on the live stream and educate us. But yeah, I do think that there's and I'm not sure what the link is, but a lot of people with ADHD tend to be. I don't have evidence for it, but I'm starting to realize a lot of people with ADHD are sometimes polyamorous, right? I need to get the evidence because everything that I preach on here is evidence based information. So I don't have the evidence to prove it, but that's what I'm thinking. So let me get the actual facts before I just come out here and start talking. But that's what I think. All right. I just said my banner social media from 3K friends down to 1,800. Nothing's wrong with that. And Kendra, yeah, if you can find a live stream, let me know. Manny, I appreciate you. Yeah, and there's a lot of guilt that comes with boundaries sometimes. Like speaking of guilt, I mean, I feel a lot of guilt because sometimes I get so busy and I'll be behind on text messages for days and emails, but I'm only one person. I'm doing my best to try and keep up with posting videos and life, right? So sometimes I don't get to things early, and it's I know some of my friends probably think they might feel away, so I do feel a bit guilty sometimes. But look, you're only one person. Like we can only do, we're doing the best that we can, right? How do you recommend setting boundaries dealing with someone who tends to gaslight and act in a narcissistic manner? So if it's somebody that you don't have to be around, I would get away from them. But if you want them in your life, you have to re-explain, just like the second tip, reinforce what the consequences are. And actually, to answer your question right here, and then I'll get to James' comment. The answer to your question right here, Megan, is the third tip. Limit your time with the person / leave. At some point, you gotta leave. At some point, you gotta leave. At some point, you just have to leave. James says, when my new boss asks if I have kids or and married, how do I nicely divert that conversation? Because I'm in a polyamorous relationship. So, James, just say, hey, I'm not comfortable talking about my personal life tell your boss. I'm not really comfortable talking about my personal life at the job, but I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to do my work. I would say just like that, right? Maybe I don't know, you're thinking that your boss will judge you if he finds out that you're in a polyamorous relationship. I mean, yeah, there's still a stigma against it. So sometimes it's good to just keep your personal information to yourself and let work be work and let home be home. Because people will judge you, right? And you want to keep your job, right? So that way you can keep getting paid and you can move up the ladder. So sometimes you don't have to be best friends with your boss. Your boss is your boss, and you're just an employee doing your job. So they don't have to get in like your personal business. So how would you, if you're conversation with others, start trash talking someone? How would you set the value for yourself, or are you trying? So, Lana, it depends. Like I would stand for that person, but I would also separate myself from the people who are talking trash because I don't want that energy to be around me. And Taylor, yeah, that link right there is the link to the polyamory discussion. Relationships anarchy. Yeah, no, Taylor, I love those conversations too. I love them too because what works for somebody doesn't work for somebody else, right? Like if polyamory is not your thing, do not do it. Like I've said before, like stick to what you want. So the best part about all this is whatever you want is what you'll get. But you have to be comfortable having the difficult conversations. You have to be comfortable standing up for yourself. You have to be comfortable, setting boundaries, right? So the number one thing I don't want when it comes to boundaries is I don't want people doing things that they think they should do to be accepted, right? If you legitimately do not want to do something, please do not do it. Because if you do it, you're gonna feel bad. You're gonna feel like every time you do something that you don't want to do, it just lowers your self-esteem, little by little. Would it be wrong to associate bullies to be trash? Man, so I mean, it's all semantics. Maybe I mean, I won't call another human being trash, right? But I'm not gonna hang out with them, right? If they're bullying people, I'm gonna love them from a distance. But like, I'm not gonna have the energy anywhere. Nope. I gotta get away. I gotta get away. Mickey Ficky. Mickey Ficky. Sandra, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I noticed that when you're good with boundaries, you get ostracized. People assume that you've got attitude from. Yeah, Rome. No, you're right. You're right. And as I've gotten better with boundaries, I've lost people. Like some people don't want to be my friend because I'm not gonna do certain things. Like if you're somebody who Leilani, yeah, you missed the water break. We actually did it on time. Which is weird because we actually did the water break on time. But people may call you names when you set boundaries. People may make fun of you. So you have to be okay with people saying whatever, right? But like you have to. That's why it's so important to figure out what you like and what you don't like, right? I know for myself. Listen, I'm going out and I'm meeting some guys here in LA. I'm like, all right, these guys could be my friends, right? I have no interest in going out to hang out with guys who want to go to the bar every weekend and drink and chase girls. I'm like, undergrad was what 10 years ago. Like I'm a grown man. I don't have time for those things. So if those guys want to go club hopping, like there's nothing wrong with that, right? But you know, I can still be their friend, but like I'm like, hey, don't invite me to that because I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna show up to that. So it just depends on what you want, and if what you want is not in alignment with other people, and they're giving you a hard time, you may have to be like, hey, call me what you want, right? You can say that I have attitude or whatever, but like I'm doing my thing over here, and I appreciate you, but you do your thing over there. Let me see. Uh, so in the book, if you have the book, page 46 and page 54 are good guides on how to stand for yourself. Especially page 54, how to say no. I know that section. That's a very important section. I think you missed my question from before, but how do you separate building walls? So when you say building walls, Lana, what do you mean? Can you elaborate, please? When I have a friend, even best friends are treating me badly, it's easy for me to cut it off. But in relationships, I will let serious things go, and in the past, let things go that I should never have. Why is this such night and day behavior? So, Katie, I don't know you, Katie, but one reason why this could be is because maybe you may value relationships more than friendships. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you may be somebody who relationships, like romantic relationships, mean so much to you to where you'll do whatever you can to make it work. And for me, I'm kind of backwards. Maybe I should put more effort into romantic relationships, but there's nothing wrong with that, right? But if you can take some of that energy that you have with your best friends and bring it to romantic relationships, I think you're gonna be pleased with your dating life. I think that will improve your dating life because now you're not gonna allow yourself to be played, mistreated. It's gonna be hard for somebody to, mistreat somebody who knows and enforces their boundaries. Really good question. Really good question. I wonder if ADHD folk are more likely to be in non-monogamous relationships. So Shara, I don't know, but I'm very curious about this. Like I'm extremely curious to know about this, because I'm like, is it the want for multiple partners? Is it like the lack of commitment? So I'm not sure, but and I like it when there's questions that people ask and I don't know the answer because then it forces me to have to go and do some research. Establishing boundaries are important. If others refuse to respect those, yeah, yeah. I love the show. To Spotty, yeah. If people don't respect your boundaries, to me that's a sign of disrespect. And then if it's disrespected, I'm gonna have to just separate myself. Me too. When I did with my so-called best friend, I found out I'm working on boundaries. Betsy, as long as you're heading in the right direction, that's the best that you can do. Amanda says, give them out. So I think I had like maybe I may have to look in my house. I had like one I saw one book and I sent it to the girl who had a birthday. I forgot her name. I forgot her name. I tend to build walls to keep people out. How would go from setting healthy boundaries with people? So, Alana, I think it starts with a conversation. Learn how to communicate with people when there's an issue will go a long way. You'll go a long way, because that way, if there's a relationship that you really care about, sometimes you don't have to cut them off. Like a simple conversation may have saved a relationship, or may save many relationships, right? So figuring out how to communicate, right, a little bit better than what you're doing right now will go a long way. Um, are there specific signs to be on the lookout for when someone disregards your boundaries? When should someone be concerned? So, Megan, if you ask me, look, we have to keep this very simple. Like life is already hard. We shouldn't make it harder. Megan, if you tell somebody something that you don't like, and they say they understand it, and then they turn around the next day and they do that, I'm going to be concerned. Like I'm not going to let things slide. If you let things slide one time, people do it over and over again. So if I say I don't like this, you turn around tomorrow, you do this, I'm concerned. I'm not waiting. I'm concerned right then and there. I'm concerned right then and there. You know, and if you have that attitude, it's going to be very hard for people to gaslight you and manipulate you, because you're firm on your boundaries. You're like, hey, I didn't like that. I told you I didn't like that. And you know, you try and like make sure that you come from a place where you're not, you can speak without getting too emotionally charged, because sometimes we might get angry when we're, conversing with folks, but say, hey, I told you I didn't like this. You turn around the next day and did the very same thing that I didn't like after you told me that you understood it. I'm concerned now. Like, I'm not waiting until the second or third time. The very first time that happens, I'm concerned. And the issue really sometimes tends to be that you like the person so much that you let things slide, right? And all of us do this. Even me, like, sometimes if I like somebody so much, I'm like, oh, I guess I let her do X, Y, and Z. And after the fact, I'm like, oh, if I'm not checking, or if I'm not respectfully bringing a certain topic up, it's kind of like I'm disrespecting myself, like I'm not gonna disrespect myself to make somebody else feel better. If that feels good. Crazy question: how to deal with someone who is vegan but others aren't, and you eat meat? So I have a vegan friend. This depends. Like, I think sometimes people get. I don't know who's vegan here and who's not, but just bring it up. Say, hey, like, I know that you're vegan and I'm not. And you can ask them, like, hey, is it a problem that I'm eating this, pulled pork sandwich next to you? Like, is it okay if I sit next to you and eat this number one Chick-fil-A with large fries and a lemonade? Like, does the smell of chicken irritate you? So talk it out with that person. I think it's specific to that person, because, like, I don't think we can speak for all vegans, right? Because that would be too large of a group. I'd for that one person, figure out what their boundaries are, and just do your best to abide by them. Yeah, Amy. Yeah, if you allow it once, like, you can't allow. Don't let anything. Not even once. I mean, if it happens once and like it got past you, cool. But don't let it happen again, right? The sooner you get it, the sooner you catch it, the better. That's a good idea. We should take note of that on the Discord. Forgiving the past and letting it go. Yeah. And Jackie, I feel like sometimes it's harder to forgive yourself than it is for other people, right? So this is a good one. Shoot, these comments are all over the place. Seems very yes. The last person I dated didn't make it past 2 months. They weren't bad, just right. And I think this is how things are with dating. I don't think I've ever dated. Yeah, I've never dated an evil woman. It wasn't right for me. And sometimes the person who like y'all argued back and forth, and they called you toxic, you called them toxic. When you split up with them, sometimes they'll go date somebody else and they'll marry that person, right? So they weren't bad, they were just not right for you. Somebody out there, like, that was their person. It just wasn't your person. If the vegan can't sit next to me, we can't be friends. That's a boundary of mine. And you can't be a picky eater either. Yeah. So if that's your boundary, then that's your boundary. Straight like that. Keep it simple. Let me answer this question real quick. A little bit of time. All right. How can you set a boundary if you can't point to the issue? Like, they're saying things in mean ways or making slight comments that hurt, but you have to be so alert to catch them. And then how can you have a boundary? All right. So Sarah, just to be honest, if you already feel this way, you're not in the best of positions, but we can work this out, right? Because already you can't tell, you know something is wrong, but you're not sure what's wrong. That's a red flag. I'm not saying this person is bad, but that's kind of like a red flag, right? And you don't know what the exact issue is, but you feel that feeling in your stomach. You're like, something is off. Something is off, right? And I think it can be helpful to tell your situation to somebody else, somebody who is not in this, situation or circumstance, and try and get their perspective on it, and say, hey, like, am I? Almost sounds like gaslighting, but say, am I like losing my mind, or like, is this like, am I on the right path, right? But if you have to be super alert to catch somebody, then it looks as if you may have dug a hole for yourself, but there's still hope, right? So the next time that something happens that you don't like, this is what I'll tell you to do. Write it down. Literally, take a pen, write down what happened. Like, so and so said this, and I did not feel good because of X, Y, and Z. And then you can connect the dots and say, oh, I don't like it when they compare me to their ex, right? Or something like that. Because you can trace it back to, oh, that's a comment that really hurt me or pissed me off or made me angry. So if you can trace it down to the problem, then you can bring it up to that person. And once you know what the issue is, like, actually for you, Sarah, I may actually write it down. I'll write down what the issue is. I feel bad because of this. And why, like, write it out, kind of like a journal entry. That's what I would say. And then once you can kind of figure out what the issue is, go to that person and bring it up. And if the person doesn't acknowledge your concerns, then you have an issue. Gaslighting, flattery, and bribery. You do see these things with narcissistic personality disorder a lot of the times. Margaret, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I had an ex-husband who did this. Kind of dangerous to be around them. This is Amanda's words, not mine. How can I gain more self-control? I'm impulsive. It's got me in trouble too. So, Rome, kind of off topic, but I'll talk about it real quick. You have to work on trusting yourself, but trust yourself with small things, right? So when it comes to impulsivity, we all may get impulsive from time to time, but start practicing with things that practice, with things that aren't as important, right? So if you have a hard time, controlling yourself from eating cookies, right? You're like, okay, all right. Whenever I go to the store, I have this impulsive desire to buy cookies, and I come home and I eat the cookies, and it makes me gain weight. So work on that right there. If you're impulsive, just work on trying not to buy cookies, so that way you don't come home and eat them, right? And then that self-control is going to translate to other parts of your life, right? And then you can do better with maybe not impulsively spending money, right? And maxing out a credit card and putting yourself in the hole for months and months, right? Or you can work on impulsivity, like maybe sexually. So that way you don't hop in, the bed and get somebody pregnant, but you're like, I didn't like her, or whatever the case may be, right? So I'll practice with small things, right? So maybe it could be something as simple as the cookies, And Sarah, I really hope it works out for you. I really hope it works out for you. And like I said, pencil or pen, whatever. Pen, pencil, paper. Write down what makes you feel bad. And you know deep down inside, like when something's off, we're like, we know. And love and yeah, we should put that in the Discord. We've done it before, but I think it bears repeating. We should bring back impulsivity and how to control it. This is one of the best definitions of boundaries that I have found in the book. I can't remember which one. Boundaries are for you. They're not ultimatum or consequences for someone else's behavior as a means of trying to affect change in it. Boundaries, a personal limit that's expressed so that your need will directly be met. Yeah. Action we take for ourselves regardless of how the other person reacts. If the person changes, that's a secondary gain. Yeah. So when you tell somebody a boundary, that's like that's a form of like, I love you. Hey, I want to keep you in my life, and this is how we're gonna be able to do it for a long time. You know. Let me see this. I like the idea of writing it down, especially someone with ADHD that has trouble recalling specific instances. Yeah, Katie, I'm that way too. I'm like, I forgot to say that. Damn. You know, so I like to like, I use my notes app and I'll be writing things down. But I mean, I have like thousands of notes, like over 1,300 notes. But still, I'd rather write it down so that I can refer back to it. I'm trying to go backwards and get some comments. He has 0 decision because of our daughter. All right, so Bessie, I'm not sure what the first comment was, but you know, like I hope things do get a little bit better. Let me get a couple more comments. Right now, boundaries are so helpful. Yeah, and this can be for anybody because we may really forget what we need. Meds can cause some impulsiveness to right. So meds, you know, can it just depends on the situation, right? Somebody mentioned bipolar disorder earlier, right? Let's say you're somebody who has bipolar disorder and you're misdiagnosed, and they give you an antidepressant because you appear to be depressed. The antidepressant could push you into mania, and then now you might start making impulsive decisions, right? So it's never like a one size fits all, Corey. So you are correct here. And Sanders says benzos make me shut. But see, knowing this is good because then we can tell your doctor, hey, these things make me buy a lot of things and it's making me lose money. So can we make a change? You know? And I think letting a person know that they crossed the boundary and made it you uncomfortable and concerned. I don't know why. Leilani, I agree. Like if somebody forgot what the boundary is, like I won't forget it. Like I'm like, oh, I didn't like that. Like I remember exactly what the conversation was. Write things down all the time at work and have notes for myself all over the desk. Yeah, and as long as nobody comes to clean out your desk over the weekend, no, you'll be fine. Yeah, me too. And let me see. Megan, I'll give you a question in a second. I've seen stimulants for some cause and post. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, and sometimes stimulants, meds just work differently for some people, right? So sometimes it might really work for you, sometimes it might not work. You might have to go back to your doctor and make a change, you know, as soon as possible. What about RSD and ADHD with regards to boundaries? So Megan, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. With ADHD, because of rejection, sensitive dysphoria, where you may feel things more intensely, and you know people may call you emotional, and like you might really hold on to hurt and pain and guilt and things like that. It could be hard to set boundaries, right? But whether you have ADHD, regardless of whatever you have, boundaries are going to save your relationships. You know, so if you if you have ADHD and you know and you struggle with RSD as well, it'll probably be harder for you to set boundaries. But you still have to set them. Or I mean, if you ask me, I would still recommend that you set them, right? Because that's what's going to help you feel better about yourself. You know, so it may be a little harder for you, but I would still say like do your best to set them. Um, let me see. Oh, the water break. At my job in Arizona, my sticky note wall and sticky notes on the edge of the computer screen were infamous. Yeah, I love sticky notes. Like I'm out of them, which means it's time to get some more. But normally I have some all over on the Mac because literally, like that would just tell me what I need to do. And when it's in front of me, then the chances of me forgetting to do it is super low. Um, let me see. 30 minutes. Actually, you're right. All right, all right. Okay. Well, we'll let it get to an hour. Do a little small water break since the line missed it. We'll do one more water break before I get off. So that way we can get to Quanta. Sorry to hear that. So Rome, whenever I see questions like this, my brain goes into like thinking of meds, and I'm like, oh, I can't recommend meds. I'm like, oh, this is Facebook Live. You can't be somebody's doctor on here. But yeah, I would say, you know, I thought you said the meds weren't serving you well. Never mind. I'm tripping. Rome. But from what I know about bipolar disorder, mania is much more fun and productive than the depressive side of things. But while you're able to do things in Rome, if you get to a point where you're not as productive, don't judge yourself. The way we speak to ourselves is very important. All right. Okay. So it's time for the water break. And Lilani, thank you very much. Yeah. Time for water break. I'll answer this real quick. So mania, sometimes you have pressured speech. So like talking really, really fast. Maybe going days without sleeping. Could be one. Impulsivity is one. Impulsive decisions. Especially decisions that can have painful consequences. Sometimes you see psychosis, and that would be the Mac episode. You wouldn't see that in a hypomanic episode. And mania, and keep in mind, a manic episode would have to last for a couple of days, right? So if somebody, appears to be manic and it just you saw it for one day, it's not mania, right? A manic episode would be at a minimum, 4 days, and a lot of these can cause mania. Like sometimes people can go through a lot of stress from a breakup and then find themselves in a manic episode, right? Sometimes antidepressants will cause it for people who have bipolar disorder. So the cause may vary. Bessie, I hope you appreciated it. All right, y'all, it's time for the water break. Time for water break. Cheers, big cheers. Cheers, big cheers. All right, so I do have a little bit of water. Let's get this water in, y'all. All right. Lilani, I know. I'm happy you're back. All right, and man, I appreciate you as well. And I do have to, I do have to bounce out now and take care of a couple of emails. And I got the Kendra, I got the Discord notification. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. Sometimes Taylor, I used to drink every now and then. I'll drink sparkling water on the live stream for the water break, and I'll be struggling to chug it down, but every now and then I will drink sparkling water. But all right, y'all, I do have to take care of a couple of emails before I call it a night. So I will see you all on Monday. Actually, Jackie, thank you very much. So Monday we're back on live at 6:00 West Coast time. 9 a.m. East Coast time, and at 7:00 West Coast time, 10:00 or 10:15 East Coast time, we will have our ABC7 segment. So if you're in Southern California, you can turn on your TV to ABC7 and be on the news talking. It's the Little Mental Health Monday segment that we do once a month. And if not, you can go to abc7.com and watch. So until then, next week, I will see you all then. And then any questions I didn't get today, I'll do my best to get them on the next live stream. So take care. Love y'all.